Alright, what we got going on here, guys, is this is the fuel tank from the old Blue Beast here, our Yamaha Kodiak 400. And I have made the decision to sell this quad because we picked up another vehicle. If you guys watched the live stream the other day, I talked a little bit about it, but I'm not going to show that to you today. But what I have to do is I'm draining out this fuel tank here because the other day I was riding it, just kind of test riding it, and ran it out of gas on the normal, tank, and flipped it over to reserve to get back to the, to the trailer, and noticed that it was leaking out pretty good on, all down the side of the petcock here, and tracked it down to the petcock here. So like I said, I'm going to sell this thing, and I'm not going to let this go without fixing that. So I've picked up a kit right here. Just ordered this in from our local Yamaha dealer, and I've got it's a full seal kit. I'm only going to need a couple of these seals. I won't need to do the whole thing, but I took it apart, and there's just an O-ring or something that went bad in there. It just kind of got crispy. So I'm going to be replacing that, and I hope I don't have to drain out the whole tank, but let me show you what I mean here. Now it's on normal right now, and then there's reserve left. So I'll turn it on to reserve here, and I'll bring you down here and I'll show you what it's doing. Off and on work. If I go to reserve, watch what happens in a second. Let's see if it still does it. Watch, it won't do it with the camera. Probably because there's not enough pressure in here either. But let's see what happens if I can get it. Yeah, it's starting to sweat. You can see it down there a little bit. This isn't real complicated, okay, but what I'm showing you is that, when I go to sell something, part of the deal is I feel bad. I always want to try to get things as in order for the next guy as possible. Some people just want to offload something when they get something new. I feel bad about that, and so I noticed that there was a problem. Okay, there's a seal in here. This little plastic, I don't know if you can see that, there's a little plastic ring in there. It's like a washer, obviously the worst focusing camera in the world. Little plastic ring, maybe a Delrin something or other. I'm going to leave that in there, that's fine. This comes off like this, and we're going to put it down here. Let's just zoom out a little bit so you can see kind of what I'm doing here. Kind of hard to film these little. Yeah, that gets all of it in there now. Okay, so I've got this off of here, and then what you have to do is there's a little spring right here on top of here. They give you a new one in the kit, so I'm not worried about that. And then you have to kind of get this out of here. And there's an O-ring and a plastic seal. So I'm going to carefully. I don't know the best way. What I kind of do is, without digging into the corners, I just kind of rock it back and forth. That's how I got it off last time. There you go. Now it pops right off. And I'm going to guess that this is the same for a lot of Honda petcock valves. So right here, you take that off. Done. I'm going to wipe that down with, obviously, I'm going to make sure I kind of keep it in the same direction here. Wipe that down. Like that. Now in here we have, inside this particular petcock, we have an O-ring right here. Delicate little O-ring. Now I'm not going to save that. That's obviously going to be replaced. And then you have the thing that I think is leaking, and it's right here. There's a little rubber gasket, and I mean, it still seems pretty darn flexible actually, but I'm going to just replace these things and really quickly get this thing back together. So I have obviously my seal right here. We're going to put that in first. put that. Oh, that is much more pliable. That's good. That's what you want. You want that. That will help. And the O-ring, that's going to keep it from leaking out the bottom. That'll be nice. So I got that right here. But yeah, I mean, part of it I think is, you know, being oh, that's the spring. I'll replace that too. I'll leave that there. And they look very similar. You know, obviously this is an old bike. This is a 15-year-old ATV. Ooh, that is nice. That's a nice soft O-ring. We're gonna put that right inside of here, right where the other one came from. It's not all shrunk, and it fits really good. But part of it is, you know, this is an old bike. Anything can go wrong with it. I mean, you know, it could blow up tomorrow. I mean, it's a Yamaha, so it probably won't blow up tomorrow. But you know, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with these. But part of it is, hey, you know, I'm going to leave it as nice as I can for the next guy. And you know, part of my deal is that I just try to be, you know, I try to make it as I want to make their experience working with me as good as possible. I mean, part of that kind of thing is your, I think, your reputation, right? Obviously things can happen, and you don't know what's going to happen with this thing, but I may have to put a little bit of I've been using this lithium grease for this Abu Garcia stuff. It's really nice. I just need a little bit. I don't want to put a lot of grease on it. I think this is like a lithium grease, but just enough. I'm going to put just enough on here so I can get it past that O-ring, because that is not letting me slide that past, and I don't want to like crunch it all up. You don't want it to fold over on yourself. Okay, there we go. There, that's in. Let's just get the screwdriver here and give it a little turn. Feels nice. All right, now we got the brand new spring that goes on top, right there. Oh no, that's not right. Yeah, that's right. And then we got to put on this guy right here. Hope I've done this right. Oh yeah, we got new screws too, so. Box. Here they are. Brand new shiny screws. I don't know. The other ones are fine. It's not going to hurt, but hey, they're in the kit. So let's go ahead and put those on. We don't need those. I think that is now correct. I think this only goes on one way, like that. Reserve on and off. Oh yeah, that's gonna have the lettering. So that goes on, the letters face up, and you can tell that there's a little stopper in there that won't let it turn. It's got to lock into those little tabs anyway, so looks like that's fine. But yeah, I think now, you know, I mean, this little leak, you know, it's not a big deal. I mean, somebody could go along and spend, you know, $10, $15 and get it fixed, but you know, why put somebody at that risk? If you know about the problem and it's, you know, it's leaking fuel, you should go fix it, I think, before you sell something. Even though, you know, it's an old bike, it's a 15-year-old ATV, you know. You know, I have all the fluids changed. I have the air filter oiled. I actually adjusted the valves the other day. And you know, it's good to ride. I mean, it's ready to ride. You know, it's ready to go. Other than I just spotted this problem. just on a whim, just on a weird fluke thing. But let's make sure everything's seated down there before we crank it down. Let's give that nice and tight. All right. Now let's see how it turns. Yeah, it feels nice and tight now. Not overly tight. Some people buy these kits from Amazon and you know they're not real good and they're really tight. This is just right. It's got just a nice amount of, let me zoom out on this for you. Oh, no, too much. So this has got a nice kind of feel to it. That's good, I can tell. So that's not, I bet that's not gonna leak. Now, all right, we're gonna get this thing put back together. No leaks yet. Let's turn it to the on position. Like that. Alright, so we're going to look at our work here and see if in fact it is dry. It's dry. And I'm on reserve right now. Now I'm going to move to the off position. That's the main position. Don't want that leaking. And then you go to the on position. That it feels really nice. It feels totally different. It just feels like it has nice resistance on there. So I think that we're going to call that fixed, and I'm going to bolt this thing back together now. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to take that off, and we're going to get the covers put back on and clean it all up and get it for sale. I don't know what you guys think of country music. I've never really been into it myself, but of course I've been into, you know, I like people like Johnny Cash, Glenn Campbell, you know, the classics, the gunfighter classics, you know what I mean, those guys, the originals, real country western, not this newfangled stuff they got. But there's a guy out there, and if you're into that kind of stuff, you really need to check out a guy named Colter Wall. And I don't know how popular he is. I don't know what the, I'm sure there's some, it's interesting because he's a Canadian, and he sings better country western than most of the country western stuff that I hear around here now. And he was doing an interview with, well, you can go see it online. He was doing a live session at some place in New York, and it's interesting to hear, you know, he was being sort of criticized by the host, you know, well, how do you get away with doing country western music? I mean, you're from Canada, you know. And she was, you know, of course, using it as a, well, they say this on the internet, but she was being kind of critical of the guy. I thought that was funny. I think this guy's more American. To be honest, I think this guy was much more American. I'd take this guy any day over the New York interviewer. I think she, I don't know if she was doing it because she thought that, or she was relaying what she thought people thought on the internet. But yeah, what gives her the right to decide what kind of music he can sing? He does it better than most of the people in the, and besides that, you know, he's out in the western part of Canada. What, you know, we always hear about country western being from like Texas and all this kind of stuff, which is fine, but hey, this is the real West, man. That's what I'm talking about. This is the real West. This is where people ended up. You want to go west, you end up on the Oregon Trail. You know, you ended up out in the, you know, the logging mills out in the west. So hey, maybe you didn't go far west enough. But yeah, Colter Wall is fantastic. His voice is like, it's like, you know, it comes from a different time, you know, and I don't know how he does it, but it does not match. You know, when you see people sing, you think that you know what they look like. You know, you get this old kind of, you know, really weathered guy, and he's, you know, a 20-year-old millennial. Hey, that gives me hope for this next generation. So keep that up, Colter. I like it. I dig it. And I think that's the same with a lot of people. I don't think they care where you're from, as long as you do. As long as you make a good product, put out a good, and you're authentic. I think he was much more authentic than this interviewer from New York. It's pretty funny. I wonder where she was from. Probably not New York. Back. bolt it down.